How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Thank you for everything. Thanks for checking on me, so on and so forth. I really appreciate it. Trust me, it means a lot. I'm going to give you this class somebody asked me to do for you, to put it together. So my kits, I started with my kit. Everybody knows my kit. They're already built to specs. Don't alter them. If you alter them, you throw the numbers off. This kit right here is built for anything that we run out here. And it's 6 gauge, 200 plus amp switches, 40 amp breaker at the battery, not at the pump, because you got to protect your line to the battery as well. You got a pair of bus bars. I give you the 2 ring terminals for your positive and negative to the pump. Bus bars help with the heat as well as recovery time in the field. You're not using bus bars and you're using crimpers and strippers, and that's a waste of time. Get your backup pump. I don't know why you need a backup pump, but if you should always carry one. But what I mean is, if it's wired right, your pump should last you years, depending on where you live. We all wash different, right? Florida washes 24/7. Texas, California, we have all these places that wash 24/7. And you got to build in your environment. So a lot of people look at this as just wire. It's not wire. That's why you're all wasting money and burning stuff up, because we're copying bad trends out here. So I'm teaching you for free. You could go to college, but I have 30 years behind me of knowledge. So this is what I'm going to teach you today. I hope you get it. I hope you understand it. I'm going to try to break it down as much as possible. It's going to be long. Get some coffee, popcorn, whatever. It's like 3 in the morning for me. So that's my kit. Let's go to the next picture. Now, as a builder, you look at the product you're installing first. On a pump like this, it's 25 consistent, right? 35 surge. Why these pumps are so strong. But why you guys burn these up is because you don't run the numbers. I have that coming up in the class as well. If you don't run your numbers, guys, you're going to burn up relays if they have them, micro switches if they only have that. You're throwing way too many spikes, surges in your system. You're too low on power. You don't have enough for your job, and you're trying to do this, right? So you got to calculate batteries and so on and so forth. So I'm just showing you when I build, I'm looking at these numbers when somebody brings it to me. That one and that one, right? Now the next one is going to be a Remco, a 5.3. See, it only acts for 19 amps. But here's the key ingredient. If you are going to upgrade, don't build for 19 amps. And you never build amp to amp, okay? Amp to amp creates a lot of heat and a lot of short distance and flow and so on and so forth. But I did all the work for you here. I even went on the website so you guys could understand this. A lot of things people aren't doing is reading. We must read to save our ROI. So on these pumps, the electrical side, it states that, let's see, where is it? Right here, rapid on and off, not the electrical, the pump. This is something that you guys all mess up on. Rapid on and off cycling must be limited to no more than 6 times per minute. That's because you're coming on and off the gun too much. Way too much. You're overheating the system. You're creating too many surges. You're on and off the gun. You're not letting the relays do their job. They're clicking way too fast. You're melting them. Relays are made for cars, guys. I used to install them on show cars all day. When you're throwing this many loads, surges to it, the load, the heat that you're creating, you got to babysit that. So on the electrical, it states that the power must be used and supplied, if not furnished by Remco, that they need to review it. But it also states in there that you got to look at the data sheet, continue the perimeters, note that affect the on and off cycling, so on and so forth. So let's go to the next one, which is rapid on and off. No more than 6 times a minute. I say 4. Cycling could cause the motor to heat beyond recommended maximum temperature and reduce operational life of the pump and pressure sensor switch, which is that little clicker on top. So, also, another big argument out here. You guys have to read. You have to read. A lot of you are putting out false information because you're not reading. So, right here, pump and motor alternator charge at 13.7. Do you see that, guys? You talk about the sprayer pumps, you talk about the pump. Well, it says 12 volts. You have to understand tolerance, okay? Tolerance, they're not going to make something 12 volts when a battery holds 13 volts. So you got to understand, this is where you're not understanding electrical, right? So this is the part that everybody's having problems with. They're not reading, they're not asking the right questions. So you need to make sure, even this is Delvin, right? They say on and off, rapid on and off operation, right? They're saying the same thing to you. Now, let's go further in this. So I ran the numbers. As a builder, I look at the pump and I say, what do I need to build this build on? Here's one of your biggest problems out here is when you're running your numbers, you're not adding the ground into your numbers if you're running your numbers. And on electrical that you're dependent on, you want a 1% drop, not a 5 to 10% drop. That means you're losing that much at the pump, so the pump's not seeing that voltage on the loads, surges, right? So, if we go over here, let's see. Here is the Remco 20. I put it at 28 versus 24 to give me some room. Wire length is 10 feet. That's my build, right? That's my kit, guys. 1% drop. 10 feet is the 5 and 5, right? But I still have room. I'm at 1% drop. 6 gauge. That's what they're saying on the load, you'll see, versus 12. You're going to see 11.8 on the load. That's not running. That's the load, right? So then, here's what you guys do when you run the 10 gauge, when you're running your numbers. So when you put it on the chart, you can actually see what you guys are doing. So you have 12 volt, 24 amps, wire, 20 feet long. That is 10 feet of 10 gauge wire, right? 10 positive, 10 negative. You always hear me say that. At a 5% drop. You guys see that? It's saying that 10 gauge is okay. Now, what does that mean? That means that the battery, if you read the top number, is 12. But under loads, right? Every time you're coming on and off the gun, you're killing the battery 0.5. You're losing a half a volt, which is a lot of power, guys. A lot. And you don't want to beat your pumps up. You don't want to be on and off the gun. Like I say, you create a lot of heat. There's nothing different with a P40 and a bypass. You got to babysit them too. So, let's take it further. You guys heard me talk about this the other day. You guys have to learn the electrical side, so I'm trying to break this down as much as possible. In New York, Jersey, Florida, it doesn't matter where you're at. That's where I'm from, so that's why I talk about it. Germany, wherever you're at, right? Texas, when it snows. You guys are using space heaters or AC units, right? The key ingredient, the reason why they put their breakers usually out the plug, especially with the AC, you have a reset button. That's their breaker like we do on our kits. If you take that extension, that wire off that product and you use an extension cord that does not meet the code for that surge to handle the surge, and you're using a cheap extension cord, the wire on the AC to the breaker isn't going to have a problem. It's the wire before the breaker to the wall. It's just like at not putting a fuse at the battery and all your wires burn up from the battery all the way to the breaker, which is 10 feet away. Can't do that. This is what I'm trying to teach you. You have to fuse everything. Okay? Next one. People are putting out bad information. People are just copying trends and they're just putting out bad info. I mean, seriously. I mean, I run the numbers. Everybody who has followed me will tell you the same thing. That since they've changed, they have no problems. So you got bad advice. Never test anything, doesn't know Ohm's law, uses the wrong wire, no fuses or breakers at the battery, voltage drop. What's that? I asked them, hey, what's your build at? They can't even answer me the numbers. So copy and paste installs. That means you took one shop, which I seen, one shop did it, and now all the 3 other shops copied it. That's where the problems are coming from. We are copying people instead of doing the work and building and running the numbers and setting people up for success, as well as yourself, setting yourself up for success, right? We have to learn. So on the right side of that, we test everything. We know what the Ohm law is. We know what wire size. We always go 125 to 150 over the build, so we are not building amp to amp. We are building with room for growth as well as room to cool off and be able to deliver good voltage at the same time as getting rid of the heat in the system, right? From being on and off the gun. The breaker should be 6 inches, 12 inches from the battery. People will say if it's a little more than 6 inches, under 12, it still trips. Your wires are longer. If you understand electrical, you'll understand that part. It's just like your house breakers. Your feed's outside, but your breakers are all the way inside. But there's a reason for that. You have the main breaker inside still. So, don't pretend you know, because all you're going to do is you're going to hurt yourself, you're going to hurt a buddy, you're going to cause a fire, you're going to go through money. It's just not worth it. Like I said, don't copy builds. If you're copying the build, unless you're using a kit like mine and it's set because you ran all the numbers and you know all the products that will cover it now, and you can put any pump on my kit and not have a problem, even at 24 volts. All you have to do is, if you need it for a 24 volt and you need for the super pump, for say, he access for 50 amps on his pumps. So when you read the manual, he also access for 3/4 on the discharge, which a lot of people run 5/8 and they break the pump. On and off the gun too much, like I said. Same thing, I believe, with 1/2 inch. Why do I use marine grade equipment? Well, we're outside in the wet. It's always wet. So we want to protect our stuff. We're building a saltwater boat, right? So we have to protect our investment, and we have to build for our environment. If we're not building correctly, we're going to have a lot of problems. And I mean a lot of problems. I've probably fixed over 1,000 guys' trailers, no lie, in the last 4 years. You're not building for just today or tomorrow. You're building for 5 years down the road. You're expecting your trailer to last, right? Well, you should never have to replace wire. You don't replace wire in cars. You don't, like I say, you don't go in for an oil change. They don't rewire your whole car. You know what I mean? You don't go in every 5 years to rewire your car. You don't put a fuse on the speaker. Fuse goes before it, right? So, let's go to the next one. My kit, all marine, like I show you. Here's all the connections, all marine. Everything's solid. Oh, I jumped too much. And like I said, IRA, right? Your wire is like IRA. It's an investment. But honestly, guys, you're only losing $20 on a wire. Everything else is the same, the products, but just the wire. So bus bars, breaker, switch, all the same. Just the size of the wire. So you have to run your numbers when you run your builds. So I always run for 1%. Thinner wire is going to get hot. It's going to lose power at the pump. You're going to stress out the pump. You're going to have failures, downtime, costly repairs. With the thicker wire, you're going to have lower resistance in the wire. You're going to stay cooler. The pump's going to run stronger. You're going to have less problems, and you're going to have years of reliability. Thinner might work great when everything's brand new. Like I tell you, it's the same as the 10 gauge on a brand new wire. Of course, it's going to work. It hasn't burnt up yet. Like I said, a lot of people are teaching. They don't know how to use a voltmeter. You guys are building stuff. Nobody has a voltmeter. You guys are calling me. Don't have a voltmeter. I've told you guys before. If you don't have a voltmeter and you want me to troubleshoot it, I'm not going to talk to you until you have one. There's nothing I could do from the phone. I don't have voltmeter eyes to see through the phone to see what's going on. So I need you to have the tool on the other side so I can find it in less than 2 minutes. Trust me, I can find them really quick, all the problems. Ask all the guys. Ask the guy that went out with me on a job. My pump went down. I got a short somewhere. It was an old pump, and the wires were taking a beating. It's been on there for a long time. And it went down, and I fixed it in 2 minutes because I grabbed my voltmeter and I found the problem. It was a loose connection on the pressure switch, actually. So, getting back into what I was just talking about. Keys, if you're going to run key starts and 12 volt, 24 volt systems, you got to learn how to use the multimeter or a power probe. Power probe is a lot easier. I use the cheap $20 one outside. People laugh at me on videos. I'm not pulling out my $300, $400 power probe. That's for my car. I'm not pulling it out to get SH and everything else all over it, right? Or my daughter's car or something like that. So then you have to learn how batteries work. There's so many different batteries that people don't understand how runtime works, how many amp hours, what's the draw on each battery. Each battery works different. One's a starter battery, right? Then you have a deep cycle battery. Then you have your AGM, right? And then you have your lithiums. Well, marine, I tell you all the time, you only get 50% of true value out of a, say if it's a 100 amp battery, you only got 50 amps. So as a builder, right? As a builder, I say, okay, well, lithium, I could draw down to 80%, maybe a little more, but flood AMG, I can only draw down to, say, 50%. So now you need more batteries because you can't let it discharge that much, right? I know it sounds confusing, but the minute you get this all dialed in, you have no problems. They all go away, I promise you. So, understand your charging system. A lot of you think your machines charge your battery. First of all, if you're running a U1 battery on a machine with a pump, you're already asking for problems. You don't have enough storage in that system, in that battery, even for that system to charge it. When you're pulling 24, 35 on a surge, you're killing yourself. It's built wrong, right? So that's the key ingredient, is you have to charge your batteries every night. On a machine, a U1, you don't have to charge. That pretty much charges itself. But when you're sharing power, I'll get into showing you if you guys are sharing power. I did a video on that already. But I'll get back into that on part 2. This is part 1 for right now. So, charge your batteries every night. Always start with 100% battery. If not, you're leaving weak and you're just going to get weaker, which means you're going to create a lot more heat resistance in the power lines. You're just hurting yourself, to be honest with you. Thicker the wire. So, the thicker the wire, if you are a handyman, you know an extension cord 10 gauge is better than a 14 and a 16, right? If you have a powerful saw, that saw is not going to spin on a 16 gauge 100 foot of wire, extension cord. But if you ran a 10 gauge, that saw is going to run amazing. It's the same theory. There's nothing different, right? When you're using thinner wire, which I've showed you in a video a million times as well, it's slowly burning up. Your battery's new, the 10 gauge is new, everything looks good until you overheat the wires heat up, you burn the relays out or the micro switch. And same as your machines, starting your machines, guys. You want to use thicker wire on your machines, not that thin stuff. Do a voltage drop if you don't believe me. And I'll show you how to do that in a little while too. Speaking about wiring. Bad wiring getting weak in battery over time. When your battery slowly gets weak, your system is going to tell you by it burning up if you have thin wire. You're going to have something burn up, right? Going to be a relay, going to be a micro switch. Depends on what pump you have. So when you have a new battery, everything looks great until 5 years down the road or 3 years down the road. But for us in Florida, regular batteries, we got to switch out every 2 years. Doesn't matter. Just because your batteries are charging also doesn't mean they're good. They'll charge, but when you do a load test on them, they'll fail. Because the plates or whatever got burnt up, and now they're not holding with the charge like they should. So this is learning the system. But this all goes to other things too. That goes to boats using the 12 volt trolling motor. It's all the same thing, right? Nothing's different. You have runtime on a battery, so you have to figure out how many hours of runtime you have in your system and how long you could run it on your wire, right? That's where building comes into play. You must do a voltage drop, like I tell you all the time. You got to know what the battery's at cold. You got to know what the pump is when it's running. You got to know what the pump is when it has a load on it. Yeah, and that's going to tell you right away if your wires are too thin. Your battery is going to read one, and then your pump's going to read the other. And what you're looking for is that loss from the battery to the pump. It's the same as the reels, the machines, nothing different. You just have to run your numbers, and the equipment will last you forever. I see 6 gauge out here like 10 feet long. I would never do that. That's my opinion. I would never put 6 gauge 10 feet long. Never. Just wouldn't do it. So, can I help you? I can't help you find it like I told you earlier. I gotta have you have the tool, the meter, and you must have a meter. I need to see the actual numbers. I can't guess. Voltage doesn't lie. Like I said to you, if you run the numbers, you'll find all your problems. There's a couple of local guys that have come around, and I'll tell you right now, they have really learned their systems. They have found so many problems that they got. So by fixing them, now they don't have any more problems, right? So now you have no more headaches. Some people say, well, gas is better. Gas is good. Nothing wrong with gas. There's a lot of people on gas are coming back to 12 volt because they're tired of wasting money on SH. and too much runoff. But you can run faster, but you still got to let it dwell. So why run faster? So it all depends on the job, right? Each machine has a job to do. So a heads up about my kit. Please do not alter my kits. They are built to numbers. They are built perfect for you. If you need them longer, I've told you this before, you could step it up to 4 gauge, replace, build your own kits. Like I said, I never did this to sell kits. I had to build them to put them in your face to prove that this field is wrong. We have to build better. And I'm doing this all for free to get everybody better. So, let's see what else. Okay, let's talk about one more thing. I really wasn't going to talk about this, but I fixed this the other day. You guys are doing this. Think about what you're doing. I want you to understand this, right? Listen to this, please. If you have a 40 amp fuse here, which is what I fixed, and you have 2 reels jumped, and they say, well, they're on top of each other, so nobody's going to run them both at the same time. It still doesn't matter. You're jumping off the solenoid. You're going solenoid to solenoid, right? So let's talk about that. So if you put a 70 amp fuse here, right, because you think that's 70 amps total, you're right, it is 70 amps total, but each item is 35 amps. You put a 70 amp breaker on that, your stuff's going to burn up no matter what, because it's rated for 35 amps, not 70 amps, right? So the right way to do it is the way I redid what's his name's trailer. I don't drop names, like I said. He could tag himself. The right way is you go 80 amp for say, depending on what you have on the other side. You go to a bus bar like I did on his trailer, and then I ran each breaker to each reel. Some people say it's overkill, but it's actually proper. You don't say you can't push both reels when you build something. You can't say to someone, you can't push both reels at the same time because you'll blow the breaker. That means it was built wrong. That's like saying you can't plug something in this wall and that wall in your house at the same time. Would you be okay with that? No. Because it's just wrong. Also, wiring on these reels are way too small. You guys burning up solenoids, right? You could ask, what's his name, how fast his reels are. Everybody who switched that went from either 6 gauge or even 4 gauge, I got guys that went to straight 4 gauge. They said their reels have never spun as fast because, like I told you, it's the same as the pump. You're getting the voltage when you're running the thicker wire. The battery voltage is now, the reel is seeing what the battery has to offer. So the reel's going to spin faster. When you have a 5 to 10, 15% voltage drop, your reels are going to spin like a turtle. People say, well, that's good. No, it's not good. The product was made for 12 volts plus. It has tolerance. Same as the solenoids. You guys are dropping way too much on your builds is what's burning everything up, right? Hopefully you understand that. We're almost at 30 minutes. Okay, here's another funny thing. Of course, I get a bunch of people that give me crap about it, and I think it's fun. I was out there for 14 years, say. Okay? When you buy soap that is very, very, very thick, like Slow-Mo, from the store down in Clearwater. I don't drop names, even if I am good friends with people. I'm sorry, I just don't do it right now. I'll put it in the post, though. Mixture soap. A lot of you guys, especially like Slow-Mo is like a gel guy. Guys, you're better off pouring some in a gallon, diluting it, shaking it up, and then putting it in your soap tank. and then filling it up and using a paint mixer. You driving around sloshing, rocking back and forth is not mixing your soap. It's like you throwing your clothes in the washer machine, right? And your spinner doesn't spin, but the soap falls on top. You think anything's going to get clean? No. Because you didn't whoosh it around. What you want is a good mix, right? It's to save money. And a lot of you guys complain, in 5 minutes, all my soap's gone. Yeah, well, your soap fell to the bottom. You sucked it all up within 5 minutes because you didn't mix it. The guys that are mixing it told me, man, they have saved so much money on their soap. And it's more consistent now. So, just food for thought. Okay. So, let's go to an amp chart. Okay. On this amp chart, you guys have to understand this. You have to read. You'll learn more about your products if you read. I promise you. So, let me explain this to you. So, if you're not sure how to read it. This is the pump, right? At 0 psi, you're going to get 5.8 and a draw at 5.10 amps, okay? So there's no pressure in the system. It's the same as your pressure washer. When your pressure washer gets pressure, your machine bogs down, right? Same theory here. When you put more pressure on the tip, you're creating so many amps and you're losing flow. So you have to understand how the system works to get it dialed in. This is why I say you got to play with tips, guys. Say you go, for example, we had, what's his name, set at 50 psi out of the Sandy-Lab gun, right? He was only getting 3.3 gallons. Well, look at the amp draw he's getting. That is amps, right? That is 14.5. Let's take that further. How many amp hours do you have in your battery? Some of you got 100, but you really only got 50, right? Why does that look like that? That's weird. Sorry. I hope that didn't keep doing that. So then on here, I'm sorry, it's a little. Why is that? I'm sorry, guys. Give me a second. I don't know why he's cutting that little spot out right there. But anyway, I'm almost done. So, the big boy pumps that they put out. So I'm going to go over it. It's real small though. Okay? If you run the FB37s, if you ask for out of a 7 gallon, 90 psi, you're only getting 2.7 gallons at 29.3 amps. You only have 50 amp hour. How many hours can you run? Do you see the problems now? So if you ran 40 on this pump, it's asking for 20. This is building with the right pump to the system now. This is why I say as a builder, I build from the pump back to the battery. Because you have to build for success. And if you build to fail, the guy's going to go out with one battery. Here's another one. They're all the same. Both of them are the same. 7 gallon that's why. One's bypass, one's demand. I did this on the fly, guys. So, just so you guys understand that, 60 psi only gives you 4.3 out of that 7 gallon, right? And where is it? Where was everything? 60, 7. All right. So if you ran 0, you would get 7.3 at 13 amps. That's a lot of amps. 10, 20, 40, 50, 60, right? So, but you're looking 13, 15, 17, 20, 23, 26, 29 amps. You got to build for your setup. It's just like going to a job and you need 10 gallons of gas and you only go there with 2 gallons. You set yourself up to fail. Think, plan, and act, guys. So let's see. That's my sticker that I just made a couple days ago. Oh, a while ago, actually. But I appreciate everything. Seriously, I don't think there's anything else. Nope. Just a video that I did originally, but I'll let it play. So let it run through one more time. As a real video. But this is the key ingredients, guys, is that if you build it right, you're never going to have problems. If you read the instructions, you're not going to have problems. It says, hire an electrician if you're not sure what you're doing. 13.7, everybody keeps saying about the pumps. You got to read your manuals. You know? You got to read your manuals. If you don't, you're going to run into a lot of problems out here. You're going to spend a lot of money out here. And you don't want that, I promise you. Wow. 36 and a half minutes. So, hopefully that helps you. I'll review it. I'm going to upload it anyway. So, have a great night. Thanks again. This is part 1. I'll get part 2 up.